Hi, friends. Gene Valentino. Welcome back to another episode here at Gene Valentino's GrassRoots TruthCast. We say it each week. We've got friends and family and foes from different walks of life: political, social, economic, scientific, industrial, banking, industries of different types. And today we're welcoming in Adam Koehler from Covington, Kentucky. Hello, Adam. How you doing?
Gene, hey, how's everything going? I love your eagle. You've got your American flags back there. You just all kind of patriotic.
We make it as covered. We got one eyeball on that eagle looking at the flag and the other eyeball looking at me. I
That's
figure
right.
I'm covered. I figure
That's
we're
right.
covered. And let's have folks, this gentleman has a path in life very similar to mine. Both he has a political side. We met at a conference recently. We share the same conservative beliefs, and we also are inspired by the economic opportunities that this great country has given both of us. And he's got three great companies he's been involved with in his career while he had one toe in the water on politics at the same time. We've got that and a lot more to cover on Adam Koehler right after this. Hello, fellow patriots. Gene Valentino here. As we approach our 250th anniversary, let's celebrate the spirit that made this nation the greatest country on earth. I'm so proud to offer you our limited edition 1776 to 2026 commemorative hats, a bold reminder of freedom, faith, and the American dream. Whether you're at a rally or on a golf course or just showing your pride every day, this hat says it all. Grab yours today at genevalentino.com and let freedom ring. And welcome back to GrassRoots TruthCast with Adam Koehler. Adam's firsthand experience in engaging with voters and advocating for better ways to serve the public gave him a background and an inspiration in getting off the ground with some of his enterprises. He owns a company now called Content Credits, which happens to be a form of payment processing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Adam.
It is.
And what I like about it is he's picking up where I left off in the payment industry. We sold our payment processing. We actually merged with a publicly traded company and then sold out to NCR in around 2015 for about $350 million. It was one hell of an opportunity for the
Crazy.
28 employees that merged in with over 200 employees. And then the big fish that came in and bought us out, as I mentioned, for that kind of money was NCR. So the rags to riches story, no one gave me nothing. I don't know about you, but everything I had, no silver spoon, worked on everything I have. I did it on my own. And that's what turned me on when we met at the conference. You've got the same background. Go for it. Pick it up where you want to start. I know you're from Ohio originally.
Yeah, from the Cincinnati area. So yeah, and I've got my building, Cubworks. It's an old Knights of Columbus building over in northern Kentucky on Madison Avenue, about 20,000 square feet. We picked that up right after we sold our old company, Dotloop, which was a digital contracts company in real estate. Sold that in 2015. Bought the building, turned it into a co-working space. There was nobody in there, no companies in there really. It was just sitting empty. Now there's 10 companies in there. There's a commercial kitchen in the basement. We have a caterer down there. She's been there ever since we got there. And we're actually working on an event center upstairs because it's an old Knights of Columbus. So, they had a hall in it at one point. We've got about 50 parking spaces. So it's nice to have that in kind of the core of the city. So if nobody really knows, Covington's the south side of Cincinnati. So you go across a river, boom, you're in Covington, Kentucky. If anybody remembers the Covington Kids, with the guy that was beating the drum in that kid's face, and they said he said nasty things and he didn't, right over by there. So I'm a hop, skip, and a jump from that whole situation. But a lot happening in Cincinnati, a lot politically, a lot economically. I'm glad I was able to be from there. Grew up with a single mom, didn't have a whole lot. My dad was out running around and, didn't have a lot for us. So, we grew up a lot like you, Gene. I mean, we didn't have a whole lot. Nobody really gave us anything. I got lucky enough to go to a performing arts school. I had some art talent, and one thing led to the other. Next thing you know, I'm part of a startup that sells to one of the largest tech companies in the country. And, that allowed me to do other things. So you just kind of parlay one thing into another thing, into another thing. And next thing you know, you're Gene Valentino, and you gotta, you're going to Alaska to
Adam Koehler. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's really true. One of the great, and hey, for the folks watching, Adam and I come from a way of life that I think you need to listen to, especially the Gen Z crowd listening out there.
Oh, yeah.
As you make your way through college, trying to figure out who you are and what you want to be when you grow up. I mean, hey, you're looking at two people who had the same challenges trying to do the same thing in their lives, and we figured it out. But no one gave us nothing, as I said jokingly earlier, but I'm serious now. And today, as a result, Adam, I'm adjunct professor at the local college in business. And what I do with entrepreneurship is shake the tree on a lot of prospective opportunities that are out there, some of which I've invested in. But in your case, you've got two or three that are the genesis of your experiences. Why don't you talk about the one that's currently in the foreground, content credits?
Sure. So content credits is a micropayment solution for paid content. So if anybody is sick of hitting that paywall, when you're going to a news article, you hit that paywall, it says, sorry, you can't, read this article unless you pay us $30 a month, $40 a month. Well, what we do is we allow the publisher to put a button on that paywall that just says, pay us a quarter and get past the paywall. So instead of paying for the entire subscription, you just pay for the one article that you want to read. And a lot of times what happens is people are just browsing the internet. They see a social media thing that they click on. They read an article, they're doing a search, and they click on something, or somebody sends them an article. When we sold our company, it was behind a paywall, the news about it on our local business courier. And nobody could read it because we don't want to pay whatever it was for the subscription. Well, they could have just paid a quarter in our case, got past the paywall and read the article. So you end up buying a bundle of credits from us, like $10 worth of credits. They're pegged at a quarter a piece. So you've got 40 credits, and you could just use those on any of the publishing partners that we work with. So that's the idea behind it. But outside of that, we also do the Cincinnati Exchange, and you can get there, CINCYX.com. And that is a local, I'd say more conservative, truth-telling publication in the Cincinnati area.
I see. Content credits though is, let me tell you my dilemma. Sometimes I'm preparing for a Newsmax interview or another network interview, and I'll get from the producer a series of links to different stories, New York Times, Substack, it could be anywhere, frankly. And they want me to click on it and read it. And all of a sudden these subscription requirements kick in that they're expecting of me before I go through them all. Is what you're talking about addressing that?
It totally is. Yep. Because what you have is subscription fatigue. You've got enough subscriptions. You probably don't even know how much money you spend on subscriptions. The average person, it's crazy. The average person spends about $1,600 a year on subscriptions. When you think of your Netflix, your Spotify, my car has a subscription. I have to pay, I think it's $30 a month on my Genesis to get all if it gets lost or stolen or whatever, I want to find it. I got to pay monthly to have that access to that. So everything's got a subscription now. And what the funny thing is, we talked to some VCs in Detroit, and they said, it's our fault. We require every company we invest in to have some sort of subscription model. And it's just turned into a monster. And now everything is a subscription, literally everything. Yeah. And people have subscription fatigue. And it's like, I just want to pay for what I want at the time I want it. I don't need all this other stuff. So it may start out with local newspapers and things like that, and then expand out into Netflix movies, into whatever you want, whatever you can just pay for with a micropayment. It could go into that industry. But right now we're just going to start out in something that we can kind of control, an industry that needs us, which is journalism.
Well, boxing leagues, I follow boxing and mixed martial arts a lot and involved in it in business. And I can tell you honestly, we were trying to put a subscription plan in place. I looked to some of the current networks of boxing that are out there. And sure enough, you've got a $5 a month, $10 a month subscription fee. If you want to get on board. Are you saying you must intervene then between me and that vendor to get them to accept a fee for a one-time basis?
That's it. Yep. So we provide them with some code, with an SDK that can integrate into whatever it is they're doing. Right now, with the publishers, if they have a WordPress website, we have a WordPress plugin that they can just load, and then they can decide which articles. All they got to do is turn on a little radio button that says, is this a paid article? Yes. How many credits do you want to charge for this article? 2, which would be 50 cents. So whenever somebody gets to that paywall, the button will automatically show up. Someone clicks on that button and it says, hey, you've got 10 credits available. Do you want to use 2 of them on this article? You say, yep. Paywall comes down. So we get the ability temporarily to also control that paywall. And then anytime you come back to that article, then you don't get a paywall again. It remembers that you had already paid for that article. So it's good for the publishers too, because they're reliant almost 100% on subscriptions and ads right now. And I'm introducing a new layer to that revenue stack that they have, which is micropayments.
And this micropayments through content credits is really a conduit that reaches their existing payment engine. So you're connecting to their in-house, you're creating an integration into their website's payment system.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, what we do is we collect the money. Then at the end of the month, we reconcile with all the partners. So you can actually break that quarter up into pieces. So we get a nickel of every quarter. If there's an affiliate involved, they get a penny or 2 pennies of the deal, and then the publisher gets the rest of it. But the publisher can even have a deal with a writer. So we create essentially a smart contract that says every time somebody spends a quarter here, this wallet gets this much, this wallet gets this much, this wallet gets this much. So say they have freelance writers on that aren't on staff. They just kind of write every once in a while, and they want to financially incentivize them to continue writing for them. Maybe they get a percentage of that quarter. And if the article does really well and people click on it, say the article makes, $100, they get a, whatever it is, percentage they've negotiated with the publisher. So it's a way for them, for freelancers and people like that are doing really good journalism, to actually get paid based on how well that journalism does, based on how well that article does. So it's really interesting. It's much more flexible.
So it's also including Paramount, Netflix, Apple TV, HBO. You've got to be including them all then.
Oh, I'd love to talk to all of them. Yeah, I'd love to put every single one of them in our ecosystem. And right now, we're testing it out in the state of Virginia. So we're trying to get pretty much all the newspapers in the state of Virginia to use it. We're partnered with one of the associations there that most of the newspapers belong to. So we're testing it out with a few of them now. And also one of the big content management systems that a lot of the newspapers are a part of. So a lot of newspapers, they may not want a WordPress website that they have to manage themselves. So they will go to one of these big providers, and these people manage hundreds of websites. And we are integrating with one of those platforms right now so that all of the newspapers, not just the ones in Virginia, that are part of this ecosystem of theirs, also become part of our ecosystem. So it's a lot easier, and you know this from your business experience, it's a lot easier to go to somebody like that already has distribution than for us to try to go to individual newspapers and sell every single one of them. I mean, there's hundreds of them in every state. So going to somebody who already has those relationships is much better, and it's a lot easier for us.
We're talking with Adam Koehler of Content Credits, Covington, Kentucky. Content Credits is your current technology and the current concept. It's a privately held company. You, I presume, and a certain number of staff. You thinking of taking it public or merging with a bigger player?
I mean, that's always, I think, the goal is exit. Either exit to another company like you did, and like we did in our previous company, or ultimately go public, which would be the dream. I mean, Elon's going to be a trillionaire, a multi-trillionaire thing, I think, here soon, right?
The first one in the world. He's got this IPO. We're recording this in the end of May 2026. Adam and I are, and in June 10th or so, 2026, I have the impression Mr. Musk will be announcing his IPO for $1,500,000,000,000. He's wrapping in all sorts of technology. It's going to be a tidal wave on the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember when, what was it? Aramco became like the first $1 trillion company or whatever, Saudi Aramco, and everybody's like, wow, $1 trillion company. Now companies are IPOing at $1 trillion plus.
Isn't that something, boy?
It's absolutely amazing. And it's funny. I look at some of these like Walmart, right? The valuation for Walmart, and they've got revenue, everything else. And then you look at some of these AI companies with nowhere near the revenue Walmart has, valued at the same amount of money Walmart's valued at.
Inflation's gone up a little bit and has reduced value over the decades, but nonetheless, that's still a huge number.
Huge, ridiculous number. But I mean, good for him. Good. I mean, he builds things that people want. This is the free market, right? We choose to use those services. The federal government and other companies choose SpaceX to send their satellites into space. It is what it is. I mean, he's built great companies. He's electric cars. I mean, he's the most popular electric car company. PayPal, speaking of payment processors, he's part of the PayPal mafia there, right? So I mean, the guy's had
he was on the original
career.
days.
That's right. Tremendous career, tremendous investor. Almost everything he touches turns to gold.
Just think of his vision, though, Adam. He's taking web services. He's taking data transmission, telephone services, a hosting platform, and putting it in outer space where there's perpetual cooling.
Yeah.
And free solar if he wants it, but he's talking nuclear to fire up these little hubs throughout the space. And he's actually making a distribution of data and power into outer space to ameliorate some of the problems we're having here on Earth. I find it most interesting. Who would doubt him after you've watched his success in Tesla and PayPal prior? You've got a little bit of a background too. And speaking of prior, you've got a company you either have or sold called Dot Loop. Yeah, I don't want to steal your thunder. Why don't you talk about that?
So it was me and two other guys in a Panera Bread on the campus of the University of Cincinnati. And I used to work at a big ad agency, working on Procter & Gamble stuff, all these big companies, Conagra Foods. And one of the co-founders, Matt Vorst, he says, Adam, a friend of mine's, her son's got this idea. He wants to eliminate paper in the real estate world. And I said, oh, that's wild. I was already buying property at that point, right? I was a landlord for a couple of years. And so we met up. I liked the idea. I got some equity. And we spent probably the next 18 months, almost every weekend, building this thing out, building the prototype out. And eventually, years later, we finally got a big organization with a lot of realtors involved. And then 85% of the business that those guys did were with other agents. So they did all of our sales force. And next thing you know, 90% of the industry is at least signed up to use our software. And before we sold in 2015 to Zillow, it was wild number. $2 trillion in transactions had passed through our platform of real estate transactions. And we sold to Zillow. They already own the search. So their strategy was, well, if we own the search, we can also own the contract. Wow. So all we did was digitize the contracts. They were all, you remember you used to have to fax those back and forth and you had to wait a day or two. The realtor would have to run down to the real estate office and pick it up and look at it. And, 3 or 4 generations through that fax machine, you could barely read it. Well, we digitized all those. And just for the real estate industry. So essentially like DocuSign, if you use DocuSign for anything, we were around the same time DocuSign was starting, but hyper-focused on real estate.
It's amazing how entrepreneurial things are. And you sold that company for something over $100 million. And I know for certain that wasn't easy. How many people did you have on board when that happened?
Well, there was probably 150 people working in Cincinnati, Denver, Austin, Texas, and San Francisco. Most of our development team, hardcore development guys, were in San Francisco. You know, when a Silicon Valley investor throws money into your stuff, they want to be close to the company somehow. So most of our salespeople and support people were in Cincinnati, but then all of our tech folks were in San Francisco. Back when you could only, you know, the best tech talent. I mean, it's still kind of true. The best tech talent is, you know, on the West Coast.
Yeah, we had 67 people on board, and we were focusing with integrations into tax collectors, county, city, state financial systems. And that was a full-time job, just trying to get your payment processing system integrated into these management information software programs, some very customized, some public software. The problem was getting a uniform. It's great to have competition, but it doesn't help with uniformity in terms of integration amongst all these people. So you have to be elastic enough, or figure out how to become elastic enough to connect quickly with all of them. And as a result, we just stayed in the tax collection arena. You stayed in the real estate arena. And I looked afar over there at the real estate side at one point and said, boy, sure would like to get into that. And I said, well, how the heck am I going to do that? I'm drinking water out of a fire hose now.
Oh, yeah. Shame on it. Yeah.
There's shame on the people, especially the younger generation looking for, there is so much opportunity out there for you right now. Feel free to connect with Adam and find out more about his opportunities if you can't get through to me. Adam, how do they reach you?
I mean, anybody can find me on LinkedIn. Adam Koehler, Koehler. I look like this. I got, you know, glasses on, I think, in my LinkedIn profile. But yeah, Adam Koehler, Cincinnati. You can find me on there. I'd love to connect with anybody that would want to connect with me. Also, adamkoehler.com, Koehler. There's a form on the website there. They can reach out to me. But yeah, anybody that wants to reach out, especially young people. You know, I try to mentor the young people all the time. I think one of the biggest problems too is, Gene, everybody wants everything tomorrow. Nobody wants to wait for anything. And success takes time. Building your network, as you know, your network is your net worth. I try to tell people this all the time. The worst part about being poor is not having access to people. It's having to start from scratch with a network. You don't have daddy's network or mom who's a doctor at the hospital that can, get 10 people to invest in your idea. No, you got to build your network yourself and learn to golf, for God's sake, people. Like I still don't know how to golf, and I probably should.
I hate golf, but it's what I had to do 4-6 times a year. You had to do it. But it's funny you mentioned that. I went without a paycheck for 3 years on the payment processing company. Thank goodness for something prior that turned out very good. As a result, it carried me for the years while I was playing around with this technology and innovation of online payments. But boy, it could have gone either way, and I would have been out of everything. But you end up not getting paid for a while sometimes while you're trying to get something off the ground. If you're impatient, expect a paycheck today. Well, it's not necessarily what there's a author, Horatio Alger, and his book, American Gospel to Success. And he talks about the patience of reaching success through and maintaining a regularity in your work ethic every day. Adam Koehler's an example of that. Adam, so you're no longer in Dotloop?
No. We sold that. They took over the company, and we all went our kind of separate ways and did our own things after that.
Okay, 2009, you founded Reversed Out. Explain Reversed Out.
So yeah, Reversed Out is a digital marketing agency, and we pretty much do everything. Design. I'm a designer and a marketer by trade, and that's how I started out in Dotloop as well. So design, marketing, parlayed that into a bigger agency. Started hiring people, folks that I knew from the agency world. When they got let go or they decided they would become consultants, I started pulling them in. We created the Hollywood model of advertising agencies. So whenever anybody came to us, they were like, hey, do you guys do this? Sure do. Call up somebody who's an expert in whatever that is, social media management, WordPress, websites, front end, back end, web development, design, bring those folks in and essentially create a team around a project. And that's what we've done for 15 years now. And it's been really successful. When you talk about companies that help you while you're building other things, well, that's what I was doing the whole time we were building these other companies. So
one thing I noticed very much about you when we met in Washington and since is the passion for helping other people and doing things for other people. Is this passion to do good for others, but it's in parallel with innovation and creative thinking. How you can make things more efficient and effective. You stuck your toe in the water of politics in trying to make things more efficient there. What happened?
Well, I mean, I ran a couple races in a heavily blue district. Cincinnati's about 80% Democrat now. We just had J.D. Vance's brother run for mayor in Cincinnati, and it was an 80-20 situation. And you know, the city's being run right into the ground. But it doesn't matter. You know, you vote blue no matter who, you know, on the other side, and you get what you get, right? So he was a great guy, would have done a great job. And I ran for state rep in that same district. I ran for county commissioner in that same district. And you just can't win, you know. But what you can do is you get a soapbox and you get to go up against these people and you get to say what you've got to say. And, you know, hey, if we don't do something about crime, if we keep wanting to defund the police and do all this bail reform and everything else, crime's going to go up. And what happens? Crime goes up. I said it, and here we are, right? And you make them spend money and make them work for it. Like, nobody should be able to just walk into a district because it makes you lazy. It makes for lazy politicians, right?
Well, yeah, stay on politics for a second. That wasn't where we were going initially, but what you mentioned getting on a soapbox. Is not anybody listening? I begin to see what's his name in Platt in Platt.
Oh gosh, yeah.
In Los Angeles, going against the mayor
Bass,
there,
Karen Bass.
Karen Bass there.
Oh,
my
what a
words.
mess she is. Oh my gosh.
But that's 8-1 Democrat over Republican in that area, and people are listening to this guy.
Yeah.
And he's a Republican. Oh, I'm not, you know, in this community, it's not Republican or Democrat. They even have a neutral primary in that regard. But bottom line is he's getting a lot of attention. And I don't understand, you mentioned getting on a soapbox. I don't understand what it is people are not hearing. More specifically, what it is they're not seeing, feeling, living in the standards of their life, the denigration of the quality of life in these communities.
My gosh, what a mess.
You want to speak to that
Absolute
for a minute?
Mess. I mean, we just had today, there's fights happening in our library downtown. There's people getting shot almost every single day. A guy got killed on a bus last week. I mean, you know, we write the local newspaper. So we have our own conservative spin that we put on everything that happens a little bit. You know, we want to be truth telling. We want to be, you know, we don't want to come off as a bunch of kooks, right? And you know, all crazy Republicans again, you know, scared of cities or whatever they try to say. You know, we're all scared of cities. What I'm scared of is investment leaving my city that I was born and raised in. I'm scared of people leaving. I'm scared of people not coming downtown and spending money with these small businesses. You know, if I'm scared of anything, it's that. You know, I mean, I grew up in a bad neighborhood, and, you know, a lot of these kids that tell me I'm scared of cities, you know, they grew up in cul-de-sacs somewhere with both parents and getting all these Christmas presents. And, you know, they're going to show up one day and all of a sudden they're going to fix everything, right? They go to, you know, take a few years of college and liberal arts, and next thing you know, they know everything about crime in a city. And I think it's an experiment, Gene, to be honest with you. I think what ends up happening is you got people that every generation, and you've been around long enough too, just like me, to see these different generations coming out of these universities. They all think they have the solution, right? They all going to fix something. You know, they're going to be the one that comes in and fixes inner city crime, that fixes the housing problem, the affordable housing problem. They're going to make sure the buses are run efficiently. They're going to do all this stuff, and then they find out how hard it actually is. And I think they ignore the people problem, right?
Yeah, I think,
we got people problem.
and college and upper education was not necessarily meant to be the social rehab clinic for the wayward.
That's what it's become. And look at the number of people that are the professors that the only conservative professors you have are in the engineering school and maybe the business school. Maybe not even undergrad business. You may end up with a Marxist professor in undergrad. It's absolutely insane.
Well, I think the way Donald Trump is handling education through Ms. McMahon, I think is exemplary. I think if the states want to manage it, they can, but they're going to find that their student enrollment will be directed. They'll compete for admissions. One of the things I wish he would put in place is a no tax benefit for these foundations or huge endowments that exist between the universities to perpetuate the extreme liberal left radical thinking that then is engendered into our children that are in those classes, which ties into what you just said. It to me is missing the mark. I have to listen on the news recently about how the college, hey, if you're college bound, take a pause, and consider a specific trade. And people are now moving in that direction without going to college. And I regret that, because there's a higher advanced education skills that are going to drive to the Elon Musks of the world, looking for other people on his team to handle spaceship communication and transportation to satellites in orbit that need to be addressed. And he can't have some punk with a chip on his shoulder who spent 2/3 of his college education time with protesting in the streets, anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian. This is a complete waste of our time and our money. And frankly, the George Soroses of the world, who've been funding this through the NGOs, is why some businesses in your community may be leaving and coming my way to Florida.
That's right.
It's crazy. I was a former county commissioner. We had a balanced budget. It was constitutionally mandated, and you just didn't spend money you didn't have. And if you did go into debt, it was on a bond, which was managed through through a bond referendum approved of by the people. I mean, you may need $40 million to build the civic center or to do something downtown. Okay, there's a place for it. That would disrupt the annual budget, but nonetheless, in there was economic incentives for businesses to come in. But at the end of the day, the budget was balanced. There was no debt, and look at the advantage now. We have no income tax, and we're doing it just off a sales tax and a property tax.
That's right.
I wish the same for you, and I think the magic would be the right intervention by federal agencies, which the state and local folks don't want to hear. The right intervention to create an incentive, an inducement, a minimum level of acceptability to fund these opportunities, like yours, like content credits, like a dot loop and the likes that you've been involved in. You don't have to come here. I'd like to visit you up there.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, I tell them all the time, invest in prosperity, not poverty. Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is you get votes by pandering, right? You get votes by creating these poverty plantations, is what I call them. And I call our politicians, our local monopoly of progressive leftists. I call them poverty pimps. right? Because this is what they do. They tell people, they promise people stuff. I mean, look at Mamdani right now, poverty pimp, right? I mean, he's a communist, but at the same time, he's promising people free buses. He's telling them whatever they want to hear just to get in office. And now he's realizing, ooh, this isn't working out for me. I mean, Jamie Dimon, I just saw an interview on CNBC with Jamie Dimon talking about how he talked to Mamdani, and he's just like, I think he's surprised how hard this job is. And it's you got 600,000 people that work in the city of New York, cleaning the sewers and work at linemen and, people, doing landscaping around Central Park. And I mean, you got all these people that you have to manage and all these budgets that you have to manage. And he's realizing this is tough, and you're talking about a balanced budget. I don't know. When was the last time under Giuliani, maybe, that New York's budget was balanced? Was that?
You're going
that was
back.
Probably the last time.
Help me understand something. I'm having trouble understanding why the Democrat Party in New York, some 4 million Democrats, most of them are Jewish. It's the biggest hub of
that's right.
Judaism.
Outside Israel, yeah.
Outside of Israel. But that's what voted in Mamdani, was the Democrat Party primary, which is mostly Jewish in that region. I don't get it. Maybe I'm wrong with.
Well, if you look at the data, it wasn't I think it was 50%. The vast majority of his voters were actually new residents to New York. These were like immigrant people, folks that, when you're an immigrant, you first come to America, you're probably having a hard time. It's that first generation. You got to figure out the country. You got to learn the language. You got to hopefully start a business if you can.
Yeah.
But it's tough for those first year people. So the stuff he talks about sounds great, especially if you came from a socialist country. It sounds familiar, right? And you got a lot of these people, and some of them Jewish, that it's blue, vote blue no matter who. And now they're regretting it. I mean, you look at what some of the stuff this guy's saying. I mean, I'd be frightened. There's such a small percentage of the population. I think they're 0.2% of the world's population.
That's right.
And we all know why that is, right? History. And here we are repeating it. And here we are with people chanting anti-Semitic slurs in the streets of one of the most Jewish cities in our entire country. In Cincinnati, Reform Judaism was invented in Cincinnati. We have a large Jewish population in Cincinnati.
Really?
Yeah, Menashevitz, the food and line, it was invented in Cincinnati, and the guy later moved to New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, we have a really good history. Most of the arts organizations in Cincinnati are funded, and we have a really strong arts community. Second oldest opera in the country, primarily funded by Jewish people. Very generous Jewish population. And I went to an art school for the Creative and Performing Arts in downtown Cincinnati. I sit on the funding board now. And it's sad to see, what's going on with this guy in New York. And I'm sure a lot of them are regretting their vote. And, we'll see what happens, when the next election comes up. But yeah, I pray for the people in New York. I really do. I don't want to see one of the greatest cities in the world collapse. And what he's doing with the property stuff, with the rent, locking in rent. So what happens is you put these rent controls in place where you can't raise the rent. So you're less profitable. So you can't do these needed repairs all the time when you would like. So now Mamdani and his little group of socialist communists have decided they're going to set the rules that allow the city to take your personal property away from you. And he was he was talking the other day about a bee nest that was in the hallway of some apartment building, and how this was terrible, and how this would have been one of the reasons that they could have fined and potentially taken someone's property away. A bee's nest. Wow. I mean, so they set the rules, Gene, right? They decide what is, who a slumlord is. You don't remove a bee's nest and now you're a slumlord, so your property gets taken away and put into a land trust, or given to a nonprofit, or given to the same tenants that can't even remove the bee nest themselves. And he said, oh, we're going to give it to a responsible owner. I don't know if I've rented property for 30 years, Gene. Giving your property over to a tenant who doesn't know how to even remove a bee's nest or can't remove a bee's, if it's so dangerous, just remove it yourself. It's not that hard. But these are the people you're going to hand it over to. I could just see what happens, Gene. I can see the path that this is going to take. And by putting it into a land trust or putting it into a nonprofit, the next mayor that comes in after Mamdani can't reverse it. The ownership is transferred.
This is communism.
It's 100% communism.
Property right transfers is the essence of communism.
Stealing private property away and deciding, and what's going to happen? It's going to go into the hands of a nonprofit. They're buddy with Mamdani. He's going to leave New York. He probably won't get reelected. At least we hope he doesn't get reelected. It would be crazy if he did.
Yeah.
But maybe he runs for president someday. Well, now you've helped all these nonprofits. You've transferred all this property into the hands of these nonprofits. Then on top of that, you probably gave them grants and loans and low interest loans and free money to fix the property up. Then the nonprofit turns around and sells the property, sits on a whole bunch of cash, and can donate money back into Mamdani's campaign.
Folks, you're listening to Adam Koehler, and you're on GrassRoots TruthCast here with Gene Valentino. We were talking about innovation and technology. Adam and I drifted off into a political conversation, but you know what? Government in the United States, from our founding fathers, created an environment for the little guy to win. It's why we broke off from Great Britain in the first place. Individual rights, not government rights. And as a result, that what we're talking about is the government's control of individual business, in this case, landlords in New York City. It's a landlord in New York City today, Adam. It's your business and my business we started the show off on tomorrow. And that's what's scaring me. If we allow this kind of mentality to encroach into our economic affairs from social political activities, we have threatened the future of America at its core.
That's right.
And I couldn't be more impressed with the fact that you picked up on that. I think it's incumbent upon you and I and millions of other businessmen and women around this nation, the world for that matter, to stifle any threat of Marxism or communism that's entering our nation.
100%.
And that's what's happening. Well, President Trump and our nation are tackling some big fish in the world scene. Today it's Iran. Yesterday it was Venezuela and so forth, where to keep certain things under control worldwide in the worldwide global economics. These perpetrators of illegality are slipping in across a border, some 20 million on the southern border alone. And these illegals sit in your neighborhood and mine, Adam, and they're going to strike who knows when, who knows how, just like 9/11. And we're going to be concerned about the future of this nation. The question is, will we be able to recover, is what's got me concerned. And nipping it in the bud and trying to convince this Gen Z crowd, and many of them have been convinced. I've listened to some graduation commencement speeches recently by people of repute, and they talk about AI, and they got booed on stage by the very students in the graduation audience because they didn't want anything to do with too much AI imposing upon their individual.
It's coming.
They're thinking about it though, and that's what impressed me.
Yeah. They know it's hurting their job prospects, and there's a lot of industries right now that are getting shook up. I mean, I've got a friend. He's a designer, an amazing designer. He's in his 50s now. He's been doing design work for 30 years. There's just not as many design jobs as there used to be, especially if you're, that's what you do. You just did design. People are using a lot of automated tools now to do some of this like lower level design work that doesn't really require a lot of extensive creativity, right? You can just kind of knock it out and put it on your social media channel.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of that stuff in Canva now, right? You can use AI to create graphics that you couldn't do before. Writers, think about all these writers. I mean, we have an AI newsroom that we can use. It can do all the research for us. We don't need a research team. It'll go out there and dig around and find the research for us, right? And I mean, we could still do that. We do, but it does 80% of it, right? And then you got to go interview people and talk to folks on the ground. But at the same time, why would you spend a bunch of time that you don't have to when you have these tools available to you as a company, as a business? And this is just the evolution of business over time, right? This is just the way things have happened. Look at Detroit. You had a lot of people that were making great money, middle class. Next thing you know, that entire industry shifts over to Asia. And you end up with a bunch of people that don't know what they're going to do all day. Sadly.
Yeah, there's a story behind that. It was our growth in the after the 40s, after World War II, where I think through unions, we got a little too greedy with our pay. And it ramped up the price of our products. And so we business outsourced it to third world nations, including China, and for a lower price. And next thing you know, we made them fat, dumb, and happy. And now we got a lot of dumb and happy Americans who don't have a pathway to success. So in the last 2.5 minutes, we'll talk about Adam Koehler, what they can find out more about CovWorks, where they can go to support you and your campaigns and what you're up to.
Yeah. So the big thing right now for me is getting content credits going. Any, media partners that want a micropayment solution for whatever it is they're doing. If you run a local newspaper, any kind of media organization at all, give me a call, reach out, hit me up on LinkedIn. The newspaper itself, I mean, we're actually raising a round right now too, and that includes the newspaper and content credits. But the idea is we want to bring a conservative news network back to local cities. All the newspapers right now are run by corporate activists. I don't know how else to say it. There's a whole entire network of them. And in my city, in Cincinnati, the greater Cincinnati area, include Dayton, there's around 3 million people. And they're at the mercy of what gets written in the city, right? You got an 80% district. A lot of these people are very left activist types that work for these local newspapers. So the conservatives in the suburbs and the conservatives over in Northern Kentucky, they're at the mercy of that narrative. And we don't think that's fair. So we're creating our own network of conservative local newspapers. And Cincinnati Exchange is the first one. If it works out in Cincinnati, we'll go to Columbus, we'll go to Cleveland, we'll go to Louisville, we'll go to Indianapolis, and we'll just keep branching out from there. And we'll bring, our own ideas and our own truth, right? This is all based in facts and truth. And we all know that there's certain people that don't like facts and truth, and they'll do anything to avoid it. But we'll face it head on. So if you guys are interested in that at all, hit me up. I'd love to speak to you guys.
Your address, your website?
So contentcredits.com, contentcredits.com. Check that out. The Cincinnati Exchange.com or Cincy, CINCYX.com. And then the advertising agency is Reversed Out, REVERSEDOUT.com. And
they can find you through Facebook, Instagram.
I'm on all those things. Yeah.
X. Yeah. The new network of availability. Well, Adam Koehler, thank you for being with me today. This has been very enlightening. I'd like to have you back. You reach another milestone in your path, feel free to chase me down. Let's get you back on to have a conversation about the future technologies. We can compare what AI has done up to now to what it might have done by the time we have our next interview. Can't we ask AI to simply find a way of getting these blue folks to back off on ice?
Oh my gosh, what's happening in New Jersey right now? That's absolutely insanity. Like, I don't know what's going on, but you saw what's going on, what they just came out with, that it's going to be, if any of these people are arrested, the people who are funding it, the organizations who are funding it are going to be held responsible. So I think you need accountability. You can't just be angry that you lost an election and going out there and disobeying the law and bipartisan laws. Our immigration laws are bipartisan. Those were put in place. ICE was created under a bipartisan agreement. This isn't a left or a right thing. This is about the safety of our country and knowing who's here. This isn't about being mean or being a bad person. This is about knowing who's in this country, and also not, stuffing our states with a bunch of people so that you can get more, so that you can end up with more congressional seats, which is, I think, the strategy.
Yeah, and we didn't get into it. It's worthy of another discussion. But term limits and the whole issue of the census being the basis for avoiding gerrymandering and being fair and equitable amongst the redistricting that goes on every 10 years. And that has not happened in many cases. The Democrats have abused it profusely, and yet Donald Trump, too big to rig, he still won throughout the nation. But that's still not fair. There needs to be parity and balance in the 100%. Way we set up our districts. And it should not be based on the Voter Rights Act, which is actionable based on race. This is not a racial issue. This is about a democracy that intends to put balance between Republicans and Democrats in all the districts around the nation. This is not a state issue. And that's why I think if the Republicans can win the House and the Senate, one of the things they need to do is to create a redistricting rule, tie it to a general amendment on immigration and legal voting, all under one wrapped envelope of issues, because it deserves to be the next amendment to the Constitution. That's right. Our founding fathers didn't understand what the word internet was. They couldn't dream about Elon Musk and space travel. So we have certainly, and amazingly, on our 250th anniversary, we find ourselves celebrating so much of what this country has done in 250 years. The Constitution must be working. It's elastic enough to have flexed and bent. Admittedly, it's being challenged now, but flexed and bent to handle the most unforeseen issues in terms of rights and privileges and entitlements that the Constitution of the United States provides for you and me. And one of the things they did is they gave you an opportunity to create content credits, folks. And he is very successful, and more so if you study the background on content credits. So please get on his website, as he mentioned earlier, check it out. And I'd like to hear from you too. If you get hold of Adam, let me know you did so I can circle back with Adam as well. Adam Koehler, thank you for being with me today.
Thanks so much, Gene.
I look forward to having you again. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us again for another episode of Gene Valentino's GrassRoots TruthCast. See you soon.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.